Welcome back to the More Life podcast, and on episode 9, we have wait, what the fuck? Because what would you even label yourself as? If I was to try and introduce you, because what we spoke about today doesn't really have crazy relevance on how you kind of done what you did. So just, am I cool to just call you you're an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I'm an entrepreneur, business owner, investor, property guy, and fucking superstar kind of advisor to the financial world. Traded foreign exchange, equities, all that type of thing. But that's why I just bracket as an investor, because it's too much for most people to get their head around.
Yeah, so Geo has just introduced himself. So in this podcast is going to be part one of a fucking 20-part series with the amount of knowledge Geo has, but we go into a lot of what is going on, the matrix, exposing the system behind all of what most of us are controlled by. So yeah, without further ado, get your popcorn ready, cunts, and enjoy the episode. Geo, thanks for coming on, my man. This is probably part one of a fucking 20-part series of exposing the fucking matrix, the system, everything within it. Me and Kayla are pretty ill-knowledged on the subject. We know bits and bobs, but from what we spoke about with Geo so far, you seem to know quite a lot, Geo. So for the viewers, obviously, most people don't even fucking know anything at all. So we'll start with the bike wheel analogy that you hit us with to basically describe where we are in reference to the higher ups and the people that basically control the system that we're in, i.e. the agendas that we see pushed, the government, everything that basically controls and limits most of the fucking people that live on this earth. So yeah, bike wheel analogy.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you. It was a great question that you asked, and it was quite lucky because at the time I was actually working on my bike, so I had a bike wheel handy.
Yeah.
When people ask about the matrix, they have varying degrees of belief about what it is. There's lots of names and noise and sort of bits and pieces. So like the Illuminati, Freemasonry, secret societies, the elites, the cabal, the secret families and so on. There's lots of different ways that they will express a system. And that system has been here for as long as we can see back in modern history. And what the best way that I would describe it is if you take a bicycle wheel, and in the middle of that wheel is the hub, and from that hub there's spokes that come out from the wheel, and most people live on the outer rim of that wheel, and they are kept in darkness about what is at the centre of that hub. And what we find now, particularly in this day and age that we're in, is people are exploring the path down these spokes to look for what that information is. And you'll probably have heard of esoteric knowledge or occulted knowledge. So esoteric means known to a few, and occulted means hidden, so secret. So there's a small group of people, secret societies and other luminaries in society that have that knowledge and want to keep that sacred. And they believe that the people on the outer rim are not privy to that information. It should be kept as a secret. And this is the core basis of what people would call the matrix, because there's essentially knowledge that's kept from everyone to make sure that they don't understand the power that lies within us all, because that would then break the current control mechanisms that we have that we call society.
Yeah.
So that's in a nutshell, a simplistic way to explain it, and it explains things like Rosicrucianism, Freemasonry, the Illuminati, the Matrix, elites, cabals, and all that sort of stuff. But within that, there's all sorts of characters and stories that are attached onto this sort of foundation. And the fact that, things like, we discussed it before we come on, governments and banking system, the financial system, unelected think tanks. So there's lots and lots and lots of characters, for instance, in this story. So what most people have difficulty with is understanding how it all fits together.
Yep.
But at the core of it, there is some people that know the true facts and information and knowledge that's been kept, and they want to keep it from everyone else.
Okay, so obviously touching on one of the spokes, because obviously there's many. Starting with the Protocols of Zion, we spoke a little bit on a call a few nights ago regarding that, and would you say that's kind of the protocols that most of the elites, higher ups, the secret society base their decisions on to keep us in control?
No, because the Protocols of Zion represent Zionism, and Zionism is a sect within that's gained in some circles legitimacy through the Jewish faith. So like I explained this before, because any attack on Zionism is sometimes called anti-Semitic. Yep. And it's incorrect, because I've had conversations with rabbis that are very much lived their life by the Jewish faith, and they can see exactly what Zionism is. Zionism is an infiltration into that religion to gain authority, to then manipulate and control
Jewish religion.
Yeah, the Jewish faith. So they go into detail about how there's lots of anomalies within there, which is a whole other conversation. And it's what you really want to get to the bottom of is, right, what are Zionists looking to do? Well, the Zionists, their belief is that they were placed here by the gods. So gods is in plural. So Elohim is a word that was mistranslated, whether accidentally or intentionally, to make it one God. So people believe that there's a singular God through religion, yep. The variety of different religions, and each religion has their own God. But when you look at the Elohim in some of the ancient texts, Elohim was plural. So we were visited by gods. And the Zionists believe that they were put here to rule over man, and that man was created in the image of the beast. So the Zionists believe, if you look at the text in scripture, they believe that they have a higher position and that they should be the controllers of the society. And the Protocols of Zion reference a meeting that took place. And when you look at the Protocols of Zion, a lot of the time it's disbanded or called anti-Semitic or called fake or false. But one thing that this thing, if it was false, I think the publication of it was 1903, and see if it is false, it has got an uncanny level of accuracy, because it explains the blueprint of how they will infiltrate civilization and manipulate and control it. And you could go through the Protocols of Zion from 1903 and put next to the words all the things that are here today: United Nations, World Economic Forum, infiltration in governments, control through regulation, control through implementing people in governments. So we've seen that with the young leaders program that was run by the World Economic Forum. I've had private conversations with someone that was on that group, and he had issue with it from the day that he was invited there. He says, look, this thing is not what they're presenting it to be. So the Protocols of Zion, if it's false, is one of the most accurately false made up stories that there is, which would point that the people that are claiming that it's false are actually trying to cover up that what their plan was, what their agenda was. It's an 88-page document that if you read through it, it is uncanny to the point where you would need to be extremely naive or have a reason to try and say that it's false or fake. Yeah.
So it's actually something that as you said, the people that say it's false are probably try to cover it up. The thing that we spoke about a little bit on the call as well was like all these higher ups and elites, they almost put it in front of you through media and different outlets to allow you to actually be able or have the opportunity to see what they're doing. But a lot of the average people, they don't understand, or they don't interpret it in the way that they're allowing you to be able to. Do you know what I'm saying? So like the different satanic shit, and basically they're almost like what is it called? It's called karmic retribution, where they put it out there in plain sight for people to see, so that the wrong that they're doing is almost made right, because they've let you know that that's what they're doing. Well,
the premise behind it is tacit acceptance. So people will probably not know what tacit acceptance is. So an example of tacit acceptance is when you go to a church and someone's getting married, and they'll say now, like, you know, if anyone knows any good reason why this couple shouldn't be wed, say now or forever hold your peace, which is meaning if you don't speak up, then it's so. That's tacit acceptance.
Right.
right? So tacit acceptance that people will see that they go that they've probably been at the brunt of is they'll see something like fill in this form, and if you want to opt out, then tick this box. So Thaler and Sunstein were PhD psychologists that created that. It's called the opt-in method, and they are paid by high-level government officials to come up with ways and means of manipulating behaviour. And Thaler and Sunstein wrote a book called Nudge, and they created this way of having people be influenced by making certain selections under things like tacit acceptance. So a lot of people don't understand they won't see even if it's right in front of their face.
Yep.
And they'll go, I didn't know, or I didn't, and it's not something that's been, oh, it was just the way it was. It's been created so that you're blindsided by it. And this is the thing that people are not aware of. They're not aware of the control mechanisms that are there. So like you would go, I had a conversation with a guy when we were talking about the fallout of COVID. And during COVID, he was very much hook, line and sinker from parroting what the government had said. And we now know, now looking back, that the government were lying. They weren't telling the truth. They were essentially doing one thing, saying one thing and doing another. And depending on where you're at in that scale, it's now to the point where these people that were in government, that were in charge, were not doing the things for the best of people. And he was very much a believer of what the government said, and I had presented them with some facts and information that was the case, and he just couldn't accept it. And now looking back with hindsight, I'm like, look, the numbers do the talking. This isn't my opinion. It's like there's the Great Barrington Accord's got 50,000 high level, specifically trained, highly educated professionals in their field with the complete nuanced education to work this out. And 50,000 of them have signed that document to say, this is not right. Like, this isn't just like Geo from Scotland's opinion that's done all right investing. This is like worldwide. But people would want, unless they're open-minded, they're not ready to hear it. And they will fall back on I'll just stick my head in the sand. And that was a great example of it. So people don't realise the engineering and the programming that they have been given that's caused them to think this way. And if you don't believe that the UK government has a behavioural programme and doesn't do any of these things, and you still believe that the government done everything they possibly could, and Nicola Sturgeon didn't blow the money, and she's not a member of the World Economic Forum, and Boris Johnson isn't a paid up member of the World Economic Forum, as is Sadiq Khan, and if you want to ignore all of that, right, great, you're burying your head in the sand. Go and look up the Mindspace document by the Cabinet Office, which is a shadowy part of the UK government. And it's a PDF that you can download from their website. So not like Billy the tinfoil hat on Reddit, like on their website, where it shows that they engineer the population's behaviours through programming. And that's the UK. And people would be like, no. Well, it's on their website.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, it's the whole thing, don't shoot the messenger. But what do? Shoot the messenger because you're causing them to go, oh, it can't be. And I'm like, well, yeah, it is.
Because on the World Economic Forum's website as well, there's articles saying you'll own nothing and be happy, all these different things that are basically telling us up front that by the end of it, they're looking to gain 100% control over everything we own and everything we do. So it's fucking, why do you think people are so switched off? And is it just that ignorance is bliss, or is it just the fact that they're so heavily indoctrinated that they're so close-minded to anything else other than what they hear on the news and like from the government?
Well, I mean, I think there's a part of it where people like ignorance is bliss, and like nature, you can understand that.
Yeah.
Like maybe logically you go, you shouldn't think that, but it's a much tougher decision to say, hey, look, so these people could be at it. That's a tall ask for people to go, like you wouldn't, like they need to accept that, and accepting that is a big step.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes they won't even get to the point where the step is, maybe I should check it out. Most people don't get there. It's easier to just go, no. It's easier for them to get there, and they just go, look, that's as far as it goes. And even now, you look at the the vaccine injured, the excess deaths, you look at the partying, and during tier 3 lockdown, you know, a virus that could work out where you were, how much was in, how many of a group of people you were, what postcode you were in, what council area you were in, whether it was tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 that day. This thing was so smart that it could work that out. And you have an entire population of a country going, oh, better follow the rules. It's like, how wacky and ridiculous, like how outrageous does the rules need to be before you question them? And people went along with it because it was easier to go, oh, well, that's the rules, I better play along with it. And that comes back from the indoctrination. And that starts when you go into education. And one of the things in Protocols of Zion in 1903 was, we will control education. So we will control and engineer what people think and how they think. If you look back to, say, for instance, Leonardo da Vinci, these people were experts in multiple disciplines: science, astrology, art, mathematics. And now people are siloed to be particular at one thing so that they don't think outside the box. People, they don't want critical thinking, because critical thinking is a problem. If you start to question these control tools, then that's a danger. So what will happen is you will be criticised, scrutinised, character assassination. You'll be arrested on like bogus charges. Look at what's happening to Trump in America. You know, they're literally throwing the kitchen sink at the guy, and it's all they're weaponizing the legal system. And they again refer to using that tool in the Protocols of Zion. And it's where you get to the point of how outrageous does it need to get before you question it. We'll go and ask the farmers that. Go and ask the farmers that are going out and they've had enough. Because the whole point of the Agenda 2030 is that if we control everything, then you need to march to the beat of our drum because we're in charge of everything. Well, to dismantle that, you need to dismantle the food supply. And that means you need to dismantle the farmers. Because if you control the food supply, you control the nation. So Henry Kissinger wrote in the UN 200 document that you want small, concentrated nations with a smaller population because they're easier to manipulate and control. And what you need to do that is through messaging, through media, through communications, and essentially propaganda. And then if you want to control the country, you need to control the money supply. If you want to control the people, you need to control the food. So you're seeing it in front of our eyes. And this is what I mean. I've pulled the documents off World Economic Forum. I've pulled their agenda, their paperwork, their PDFs where they illustrate this. And I can literally write next to it, smart meter, low emission zones. All you can put on this document what they're doing, digital ID, spooky virus that's we didn't make. You know, we didn't fund it. And it's like it's like when you start to look into it. And I've had friends that are in, I've got a friend that's a GP, and he was take the vaccine hook, line and sinker, and he had an adverse reaction, and his wife had an adverse reaction, and then I started to send them the documentation, and I says, look, I'll only send you this if you want to look. I'm not going to set, you get people just fucking spam you Friday night. Yep. I'm awake, mate. I'm awake. I'm telling you, I'm awake. And they just fucking boom, boom, boom. You're sitting there, and they're not. A lot of the time they don't read the information. But when you're very thought out and you look at the information objectively, and then you work it out, you can go, "Oh, I know exactly what this is." But most people don't do that, and it's the people that are like machine gunning you WhatsApp messages are not doing a good job at sowing the seeds, because people get turned off by it. Like, what are you going to do if you've been like fucking double vaccinated and boosted to the kingdom come? You need to play your busted flush draw. You better just hope that you don't get an adverse reaction or a clot or a stroke or any of these things that are happening. Like, what are you going to do? Like, so you even more have a greater desire to put your head in the sand. And this whole pantomime that we're talking about is exactly the small zoomed in version of the whole thing. So you can see why people might side for, fuck me, man, this is too much, it's too heavy, there's too much going on, it's scary, I don't understand it. Maybe I'm halfway in because I stay in a low emission zone and I voted for this politician and I took the fucking vaccines and I double masked in a car when I was myself, and I drank the hand sanitizer just to be safe and to protect others, and I didn't cuddle my gran when she was on her deathbed, and it's like, mate, like, it's fucking embarrassing for people.
Yeah.
Like, I've got friends that were hook, line and sinker. I was like, I said to them, I says, you're going to be fucking embarrassed with yourself. I was like, you're a grown man and you're saying, look, let's be 6 fucking feet apart. Have you lost your fucking mind?
I know. Oh, it's crazy.
I said to him, I says, you're talking about a mask that's created, right, for blood spatter. The manufacturer of the mask has told you it's for blood splatter. But yet you're wearing it, that fucking face nappy, and saying it's going to protect me, right? The manufacturer is saying that this will do nothing. I said, do you want me to tell you what this is like? Go to the North Sea, find a fishing trawler, take the net and put it over your fucking face and hope that it doesn't stop this thing coming in. You've lost your fucking mind. Would they believe it? Nah.
Logically, it's
well, because someone in authority told them. Now, you want to find out where that comes from. The Milgram experiments after World War II, they wanted to find why bougie, sort of middle class Germans were just following the lead of, right, can you shoot them because they're our enemy, shoot the women and kids, and they would go along with it. And they wanted to figure out what they would do. And the Milgram experiments show how far people will go to do something that's wrong if someone in authority tells them to do it. So the famous one was the actor was hooked up to an electrodes and the guy was pushing ever-increasing voltages, and because a doctor who was in a white coat, someone that was in authority was saying, yep, keep doing it. And if they got the question wrong, they would push the higher voltage up, and the actor's screaming, playing out, they're really, really in pain. And you can see them, right, oh, well, I'll do it again, yep, all the way up, because they will just follow what they're taught. Because if you look at the protocols of Zion, it's all engineered that they want docile, obedient, siloed, non-critical thinking subjects to control.
It's crazy because, like, I've even had experiences of that where people go to the doctors first before they come to, like, me, for example, for lower fucking back pain, because they see the doctor as someone in a higher level of authority. Even just looking at the police, there's things that the police have control over what you do and, like, things like that where they shouldn't. They're fucking public servants just because they've got an illuminous fucking vest on. Like, you do listen to them over, like, the next person in certain situations. See, when it comes to the Zionists, though, like the protocols of Zion and all that kind of stuff, we spoke briefly about Jeffrey Epstein. How deep can you dive into that? About how because I heard something about Jeffrey Epstein being planted into America to corrupt America and all this kind of stuff. Do you believe that he was a Mossad agent? Is that what he said?
It's fairly, like, I don't know how you can believe that he's anything else but a Mossad agent.
So imagine the viewers are listening, they don't even know who Jeffrey Epstein is.
They just know he's a pedo.
Yeah, a paedophile with a list of names of high celebrities that went to his island. Like, could you dissect that a little bit?
Well, Epstein Island was there was some. If you look into the documents of Epstein Island, like, people think that there was a singular event that this is all unfolded. And when you look at the timeline of Jeffrey Epstein was charged in Florida at the Supreme Court, where he was charged for, like, trafficking and prostitution. Again, from memory, I don't know the exact criminal charge, but it was something to that effect. And he was given, like, 6 weeks fucking slap on the wrist. And you go, well, that doesn't make sense. And then all these celebrities are still flying on his jet. All these who's who, they're all flying there. Jeffrey Epstein's position was that when you look at the documents and when you piece it together, and there's been great people that will do a great job of this on X, they've pieced this all together. When you look at the documentation, like, how did he get the townhouse in New York that was given to him by one of the financiers? Where was he getting the funds to do this? Where was he getting the funds to buy an island? And Epstein Island isn't a singular event. So, like, if you look at some of the more dirty tactics that, intelligence agencies, governments, anyone that wants to get leverage on someone else, like, the easy one for people to get their head around, because you get to trafficking kids and that is a tall order, right? So what's a lesser event of that? Well, a lesser event of that would be that you have an enemy intelligence service that wants to compromise you in some way. What you would create is a honey trap. So you would find out the particular things that target like, hair colour, bust, particular part of the world, whatever it is that it's just going to set their desires alight. And he just so happens to be going out for a meal. You know that he's at this location alone, and just as ultimate dream woman comes in, starts giving him attention, takes him to a hotel room, uncompromising position. There's a two-way mirror. There's some pictures taken. You know, she's whispering sweet nothings in the pillow. He's just fucking divulging all sorts of classified information. That's a tactic that's been used time and time again.
Yeah.
Right. Epstein Island is just a more extreme version of it. So he's a Mossad agent that was infiltrated into America to get high-level people in positions where they could, the Mossad and the Israeli state could then puppet the people that were in that government, that were in these high-level positions, because they were compromised. And Epstein was able to then get them compromised to such an extent that he had enough documentation on them that if it was a case of, right, we need this done, then you need to make sure this is done because we've got you here with a 12-year-old girl. And look at what happened with Prince Andrew. Like, it's like people, it's at the point now we go, right, you can't ignore this.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to pay off this victim. We're not accepting any liability, but we're just going to pay it off. If you were completely innocent, that wouldn't be in the ballpark. Mm-hmm. Like, you would just be like, look, that never happened. I can't remember, Virginia, whatever her name is. You go, look, this is a cover-up.
Yeah.
And you've got to ask yourself, what you've got to ask yourself in any of these situations is, who's got what to gain? Right. Well, the celebrities are involved in some shady shit. And there's like the Wayfair scandal, the Pizzagate scandal, the FBI's documentation about the symbolism that they use, the words that they use, and all this type of thing. So Mel Gibson has came out, been very vocal that there's a satanic underworld in Hollywood and within the Western elites, particularly around America. And you can make the connection between Epstein Island and these sort of elites and this offering of, dubious underage sort of participants that are going to match up with what they want. Mel Gibson's told you exactly what that is. And they've tried to criticise, scrutinise everything that he's done. You look at The Sound of Freedom, and you look at the amount of people, the amount of kids that go missing and are trafficked, and this guy had to go out solo and do it because his boss said pull back. Like, how many pieces of information do you need? How much evidence do you need before you go, fucking hell? It is easier to just turn your blind eye to it. It's easier to put your head in the sand because it's much harder to go and face that. But you look at Epstein, Mel Gibson coming out, you look at the Wayfair scandal, Pizzagate scandal, uncovering the information on Twitter files. You look at Epstein Island and the paintings that were on the wall. You look at Prince Andrew and all the documentation that came out with, I can't remember her second name, Virginia Woods. The victim that had, says, look, I was abused by these people. And you look at that. Yep, on the island. You look at Epstein's flight log, Epstein's island list. Why is it all redacted? Why is Ghislaine Maxwell up in court and none of that client list has been divulged? How much information how much do you need to see it in your face before you go, oh, maybe I need to fucking stop taking the blue pill. Maybe I need to get my head out Mars. Yeah, literally. But the difficulty is you've got, on one side, you've got these people that are screaming it, that it is, and you've got these people who want to stick their head in the sand, and bridging that gap's a bit of a tricky dilemma. And the people that are in the sand, they like you in isolation, maybe they could get there, but you add energy crisis, rising fuel costs, inflation going up, and you wonder, is there a bit of a coincidence in the timing? Well, you look at these situations, you go, well, there's always a deflection, there's always a tactic to take your eyes off of it, and people end up getting distracted by life. You know, do I really care if Epstein was in this island? My gas bill's $3,000 this month. Like what are they going to do?
Yeah. So what was the number of children that go missing? You told us that.
So in the United Kingdom, the Office of National Statistics, 150,000 children have went missing in a year. 150,000.
Missing. See, when you say missing though, right? They just don't know where they've went. Like fully just gone.
Gone. Like missing as in,
like they've
been reported.
Woods, but
they've been reported and we don't know where they are.
So see, before we move on to the missing children thing,
what was the number of America though? Was there not a higher number?
it was in the world, wasn't it?
The world number is 800,000
a year.
Yep. And that's in the ones that they do report. So you think of like the ones that haven't been reported. Yeah. So like orphanages, kids that have, you know, disappeared in these places, that in rural locations, third world countries. Like the number will be way higher.
And what is before you ask that question, see when we were talking about going missing, what's your hypothesis of where the children are going?
Well, they're not fucking going to the moon. Like it's like it's an uncanny amount of children that if you look at the Sound of Freedom, there is a multi-billion-dollar industry in trafficking children, right? A multi-billion-dollar industry, right? Now, industry, let me make it clear to you. When you are selling a product, you require stock. If you've got no stock to sell, you don't have a business. Where do you get the stock from when your business is children?
Missing children.
Right. It's not a fucking, like, you don't need to be Einstein to work that one out.
No, it's fucking...
Right, and you go and look at the Office of National Statistics, because you might go, well, must be 50 kids in the UK that go missing. There must be 100. You go, holy fuck.
150k.
So fucked up. See the pictures on the wall. What were you describing there with is that Jeffrey Epstein like in the house?
Jeffrey Epstein had a picture of George Bush playing with Jenga blocks, crashing a plane into them in Epstein's Island. Epstein had that picture, as in like we all know the.
No way.
Well, we all know the game.
The Twin Tower, yeah, okay. And then when you said about the list of people, do you feel like there was specific people chosen in different industries to go to that island? So like I saw fucking Stephen Hawking was there.
He was a fucking horny freak.
He can't even move.
But
What's he doing over there?
He could feel, but he just couldn't move. Like he was horny as fuck. He was like exactly like he was a bit. He'd been in strippers and all that sort of stuff.
Fucking like what was he?
Milkshake brings all the girls to the yard. Fucking he was mad for it.
What do you think he was saying through his fucking computer though?
I don't know if the program went that fast.
I had him sit on my face.
Yep.
Oh, bro, it's fucking...
Give it to me, girl.
Actually, I know, I was like, give it to me.
Yep.
Oh, what the fuck? What was I going to say before we move on to the blood rituals? So do you think specifically there was people chosen in different industries to then control the different areas of Hollywood, fucking technology, just the whole world? Do you think they were hand selected?
What's a few examples as well?
So what?
A few examples of
So like the actors, the different fucking politicians, the different big tech people. Was it just people that had authority in different industries that were hand chosen, or do you think it was quite a random thing? And also, do you feel like also the people that were taken to that island, were they sold a lie almost as to what it was they were going to getting themselves into, and then when they were there, they were just fucking.
Well, I mean, there's been like you can't. It would be difficult to say that everyone that had been to that island was aware, involved, and complicit. But it's difficult to get there, right? Because you've seen witness statements where they says, "Well, I seen these people and they took no part in it, and they were purely bystanders." And like they have said, "Look, here was the perpetrators, and here were like that. I seen all these people, but here were the ones that were involved." And it's like the one of the tools is that if you can make something legitimate by legitimizing somebody that's there, as like Stephen Hawking. How can Stephen Hawking do any of that? He's in a chair. Like how can he do that? So like you legitimize things by like for instance, if you're opening a store and your store's fucking unknown to anybody and you bring a celebrity and it legitimizes your store, it's a celebrity showing up. You know, nobody really fucking knows. A brown envelope gets handed to the celebrity. Thanks very much. Wink, wink. But you're projecting that you're legitimate. Now, if you've got a fucking if your only reason for going to that island is satanic ritual abuse and paedophilia and child torture, then it's difficult to give that any cover. But if you have a cover for why that's there, then you go, well, no, there's nothing to worry about here. It's the easy way to cover it off. And like, you don't need to look too far for that type of modus operandi. You look at the way the intelligence services, they'll have a very legitimate cover story about why things happen, the reason for being there. Meanwhile, they've got a completely ulterior motive, but it legitimizes what they're there for. Where if they're just showing up unannounced, like, hey, look, we're here because we're fucking looking to, eliminate a target, it's like, what's your cover story then?
What did you say? Oh, modus
operandi, the way of operating.
Okay, so just a
like your MO is the way you conduct something, the way you do things. Yep. So your modus operandi is how you go about conducting your operation.
Yeah, just because most people hearing that would be like, what the fuck does that mean?
See, with the different celebrities like Jennifer Aniston with the Pizzagate and like they were going for a pizza party and they're like selfie videos making jokes about it. What is it? Just chance that they're all pedos? Like, are they just pedophiles, or is it just a part of like walking through that door? Is that what they need to accept?
Yeah, to get the fame and the money, they need to be a part of it.
Before, like, what is it? Because like, if they're all doing the same shit with the children, and we're going to speak about that in a minute, but like, are they pedophiles? Were they, or is that just what they need to accept that they do now
to have the life that they?
Well, Mel Gibson was a great example of it, where he was like, this is the offer, this is what is done. It doesn't mean everyone that's there is doing it, but if it's a case of, if there's an inner circle, the deal is you need to be as dirty as us. So if you want what we can give you, then you need to do what we want you to do. And your initiation is doing this. And Mel Gibson was like, there's no fucking way. No way.
He was there and saw it probably.
Well, he was offered. He says, look, this is exactly what's going on. So they have their own God. So they have their own God. They worship the god of Baal. That's child sacrifice. They have blood rituals. They have their own currency, which is the blood of children. And that this is ritualized, and they have these events, and this is what they do. That was what Mel Gibson said. So he was like, look, this is what I'm uncovering, because this really doesn't sit well with me. And then there was a whole treasure trove of people that had been offered this and refused it, and their careers were destroyed. And you had, I would need to look up the actors' names, but they came out and they were child actors, and they were at the mercy of this abuse. And then because they were at the mercy of the abuse, they were offered, well, look, we can put you here, we can make you famous. But they were never right, because doing these types of things is you heard of the selling your soul to the devil.
Yep.
Well, you spiritually will never feel right. You'll never feel whole, and that hole never gets filled. And the lure is you will have fame and money and things beyond your wildest dreams, but you need to sell your soul to the devil, because that is it is satanic ritual abuse. That's what the deal is.
So it goes back to that Luciferian satanic balance. They're just selling the materialism and all the kind of, is it satanic and Luciferian balance, like the picture of the Jesus.
Yeah, so there's a famous artist drawing of 3 crucifixions. So there's 3 people being crucified. So it's Jesus and 2 thieves, and the middle cross is Jesus, and he represents the middle. He represents us. And on his left-hand side is Satan, and on his right-hand side is Lucifer. And the satanic point of view is that we are all just here as biological beings, and that it's all about material. So it's about get as much as you can, do whatever you need, stand on whoever you need to stand on, get to the top. But everything you could ever want, you can buy, and it's all material, because when it's done, that's it done, and just get as much as you can while you're here. Mm-hmm. That's the sort of basic version of the satanic side of it. The Luciferian is about light. Lucifer was a fallen angel who wants to ascend back to that higher realms. It's all about spiritual, so the material isn't the concern. So you're not caught up with material ideas and material concepts, and it's all about this spiritual drive. And what this picture denoted is that there's the balance between the 2 planes. You've got this physical material world, and you have this spiritual plane, and Jesus was stuck in the middle on the mental plane trying to work out what to do between the 2 of them. So how do we balance our lives between these? We have these material draws and spiritual desires, and it's stuck within us. because we're all capable of being evil, we're all capable of being horrible, we're all capable of being terrible and bad, and that exists within us. And we also have the ability to be good and joy and, you know, peaceful. But we have this battle because we have these sort of demons within us.
Yeah.
So how do we balance it? And that's what life's about. And that's what the picture was trying to explain, is that we are stuck between the two pulls that are trying to pull us one way or the other. And, you know, if you're too spiritually guided, you're not going to work very well in the material plane.
Yep.
The physical plane. And if you're all materialism, you're going to feel completely lost, and that there's a hole in you because you're not dealing with your spirit, your soul is damaged, is because you're not giving it you're not paying attention to it. And the devil, Satan, wants you to sell that soul to him, to ignore it and just take all the material. And this is the battle that we all face. And this has been known for millennia, and it's nothing new, and it's nothing new. But people, why do they not know it? Because there's no reason for them to look.
Yeah.
And it's that draw of attention. Their attention's harvested by social media and life and work and, you know, all these things that they see on TV, and people are like, well, you know, you should get this, you should buy this toy, you should wear this brandy clothes, you know, you should get fucking teeth from Turkey, you should have a bulldog called Luna, you should have like 2 Range Rovers. And they're caught up in this whole drive towards this sort of concept because they think, if I get there, it'll make me feel happy.
Yep.
And they get there and they're like, you can see these people, these celebrities, they've got all the money in the world, and they go, and they top themselves because they're missing that part of their life, because they are on one side of the crucifixion and they've went too far and they can't find the path back to the middle.
That's why, obviously, for the viewers watching, there's a kind of common thing about rich people not always being happy because they're more materialism. They've not got enough of the Luciferian side, or they're not in touch, or there's not enough balance in their life with that. Before we move on to the other fucked up topics, what would you say you do to reinforce the balance between Luciferian and the satanic side? Because obviously you've got a Lambo sitting at home, but you're also quite a regular like dabbler in like mushrooms and really getting in touch with the spiritual side and really understanding things. What are a couple things, just for the viewers watching, that you do in your life to keep the balance?
Well, it's really easy, because the thing that you need to master, like, here's the thing, if you forget everything that we've discussed,
yep,
here's a simple bit. Your whole goal, your whole objective is to find harmony. Right? You're not going to solve world hunger, you're not going to have world peace, right? Not everybody's equal, right? Not everybody's going to get a Lambo, not everybody's going to be loaded, right? That's not the nature of it. But what you're looking to do is find harmony. You are like that cross. You're trying to get into the middle, because life is like a meandering snake that's doing this. It's creating that S shape. And what happens is we go way too far out this side, right? Violence, gang violence, fighting, racism, abuse, right? And we come back, and the middle bit's quite good, and then it meanders way out to the other end. Woke, snowflakeism, fucking entitlement, everybody's equal. Men or women, LGBT. Women can fuck off.
LGBTQ.
Yeah. Fucking LGBTQV, HDV, fucking JVC, fucking freaks.
Yeah.
Men can be women. Gender's a fucking, you know, a construct. Bollocks. You've got an XY chromosome. You're a guy. Right? There is no such thing as chicks with dicks. There's only guys with tits. Yep. That's it. Legit. Right? And it's like, that's fucking insanity. Right? And it's like, we need to come back the other way. And life's about that. Life's about finding that harmony, because we've all felt that we've been entitled to more than what we should be, and we've all been fucking horrible when we probably could have been better. Right? And the whole picture is just like that. But you've got people who have fucking desires because they have a leaning to one side of the fucking crucifixion more than others. And it just so happens that they're in control because they believe that if their God sees them doing this and more to their side, they're going to be great and everything's going to be fine for them. And it's like, no, you need to, if you want, like Michael Jackson's great song, You want to change the world. You want to make a change. You start with the man in the mirror. You've got to look in the mirror.
Yep.
Like, what are you doing? What are you doing in your life? Is your fucking house in order? Right? Have you done the best you can? When was the last time you helped someone? When was the last time you fucking gave somebody a dig out? When was the last time you done something for no benefit to yourself but to the benefit of another? When was the last time there was a charity and you gave them a few quid? When was the last time you passed some good luck down the road? Right? When was the last time you done something that you just thought, spur of the moment, I'm going to help somebody out? And these are the same people that have done none of that are on their fucking 1,500 quid iPhone going, I'm oppressed. I'm oppressed, and you need to know that I have identified as a cat and you must respect my desire as a cat, and I'm offended if you don't do it. Fuck off. Go and fucking have a look at yourself. You look ridiculous. But you know what happens? They're in an echo chamber of another fucking frizz bomb, blue fucking troll fucking mermaid fuckers. They're like, yeah, I feel lost too, and we should band together, and we've stole half the alphabet and the rainbow, and we feel oppressed.
Yeah,
what the fuck are you talking about?
They're all enabling madness, brother.
Right, listen to me. All of us were created through a man and a fucking woman coming together, and that then created life. You're not a dog, you're not a fucking cat, you're not a lettuce, you're not fucking binary, neutral, fucking whatever it is.
Yeah, so
right? You have no idea how important it is for life that you are you. Right? That you are you. Now, I'm not taking away from people that genuinely feel that they were born in the wrong body.
Yeah.
It's so few and far between. I had a great conversation with someone who's went through that, right? And says, look, I wanted no fanfare. I just didn't feel right.
Yep.
I waited until a career was over and I was an adult, and I was fucking sure that it wasn't the case, right? And I changed, I transitioned, right? That's an informed decision. That's given at the time. Giving puberty blockers to fucking 8, 9 and 10-year-olds is fucking wrong. You are destroying the body, and you wouldn't let them get a tattoo or vote or drink, but you're letting them fucking decide what hormones go in their body. Have you lost your fucking mind?
Oh no, it's crazy.
The snake is way, way, way too far out, and it needs to come back. And what we need is people that go, enough's enough. Because for that thing to come back in, the majority needs to say, hey, screw the nut, this way it comes.
Yeah.
Right? But life is about that balance.
Because I don't want to even really get into the why people think trans is right and all that, because it's not even worth the fucking conversation at all.
Well,
we'll
I was
leave
just about
that.
to ask that question as well, but
We'll leave that. That'll be part fucking 9 of the series. But
see if you're like a trans, right? And if that's your fucking bag, right? You've woke up with a sausage. You've always fucking dreamt of having a flower, right? You want a set of boobies, more power to you, right? Go about your thing. Do what you fucking like, right? But at least wait till you're an adult. Figure yourself out.
Yeah.
Find yourself out.
make an informed
Right.
decision.
Most people don't figure themselves out until they're in their 30s.
Yep.
It's maybe even 40s, right? And wait till you fucking found out what you are, right? Try it and see by the time you get to that age, and if you don't feel right, go for it,
Yep.
right? Nobody, you want to do that, you fill your boots, right? But this isn't what we're talking about. We're talking about manipulating and destroying and infiltrating the kids.
Yep.
That's not trans. That's using the fucking flag of trans to pull off this agenda where you're destroying, mutilating the genitalia of kids. That's not fucking trans. I'm afraid that's not the fucking case. That's bollocks.
Does it come from just population control though?
yeah, is it like a
They're just
higher
trying to-
up fucking way of them control, like we're speaking about?
The
Is
manipulated parents. I know a parent, one of my clients' cousins apparently, is trying to transition both of their kids under the age of like 11 or 10. They're not even trans or anything themselves, but they support LGBTQ so much that they're trying to make both their kids under the age of 10 transition, get the dick chopped and all this and that in Scotland. And it's all purely based on the information they've received from the LGBT community. So
Child abuse.
you think it's complete child abuse, same as
It's,
fat
it's,
children.
it's total child abuse.
I think it comes from the agendas
It's
though.
a fucking disgusting world where a parent can say, hey, look, I'm going to support my child for someone else's agenda.
yeah.
That's what it is.
It's fucked.
And the kid won't even They'll just listen. They won't even fucking probably want to change.
My missus was a fucking tomboy, right? Liked to play football, loved to get in the trees, just with one of the boys, right? And that we had tomboys back in my generation. Lassies just like doing boy stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Now, fucking hell, we need to get your tits chopped off. Oh, we need to get your puberty blockers. We need to grow your dick.
Just
what the fuck? What? Actually, because you like a game of football?
Actually, that was so fucked up.
You lost your fucking... When did the cheese slide off your cracker? You've lost your fucking mind.
That's insane. It's fucked. Right, so moving on from fucking trannies, because they've taken enough of our time up.
I know, just fucking one more minute to just ask a question, because I need to ask you now. See, even the person you spoke to that was trans and transition when they were informed decision, is it still not a mental illness though? Is it still not some form of delusion? Because you've literally been born with a fanny.
Your chromosomes are aligned, to be.
Are you hormonally unbalanced? Have you got a mental disorder? Is it surely a delusional mental disorder?
Like, I mean, maybe like it could be, but the thing is that like she wasn't harming anybody. She made the decision for herself.
He before
it was a guy that went to a woman, right, and kids were growing up, married, professional, just didn't feel right. Didn't feel right for day one. And then got to the point where career was done, kids had grew up, and sat down with the missus and was like, look, here, and Boris' soul, whatever fucking her soul, is like, I just don't feel right. And like, backed it, like, right, okay, like and this is what I mean. If you get to that point where you really, like, you are prepared to make a huge decision by yourself, come out to the people that you love and go, look, this is how I feel, and you're prepared to go that far, like, fair enough.
Yeah, it's
like fair enough, but you've gave it 30, 40 years of asking the question, like, and you've went through being a child, and you've went through puberty, and you've became a man, and you've been in the limelight, and you've done this sort of great adventure, and even then you still go, look, I don't fucking feel right. Fine, like, okay, like, it's a difficult place to go. Like, I think, you know, you might not do it yourself, but it's like, look, what harm are you doing? You're not doing any harm there. Yeah, and there'll be events where there'll be people that are like, that's how they feel. But this movement, you take the total number of people in this movement, and the real people that feel like that need to transition because they've never felt right, that number is a tiny number relative to the size of the number that's in this movement. This movement is an agenda, that it's not these people. And the comment that when I said, look, what do you make of this? He says, look, what I did, this isn't that. That's what they said. And I don't think that's a very delusional statement at all. No. I thought it was a pretty well-balanced and informed, measured response. Yep. And what I will say, after having lunch with her, I says, look, man, you can like, we were talking about the competitive spirit. I was like, you can chop whatever you want. You're deep down, you're still one of the boys. That edge, that it's like, that's there, man. It's always going to be in there.
You were playing chills, bro.
Yeah, that fist pump.
Dapped him up.
Because you can tell, and like, as I said, like, I mean, like, I've got a jaded view of the going after the kids, and we need to protect them. But like, on the other side of it, like, I came away from that going, you know, fair play to you. Fair play, that's a big call. That's a big call. I was like, you know, man to man, el mano. Like, like I thought it was quite a masculine decision. It was a brave, manly decision to take off your equipment.
Because that's still one of the boys goes like this. That's really masculine decision to chop the neck off.
Just butch, you know what I mean? Only a real man could have went to that level.
Good on her.
But as I said, and I thought, you know, I remember thinking my conception before it was, I don't know how you get here, and then after speaking to her, I'm like, fucking fair play, like fair play. Like, I mean, they explain, I'm like, right, like, cool, like, fair enough. And that, I think that's what we need more, where we go, it's too much of you're on that side, we're on this side. You know, that these conversations where you go like, I don't know how I can get there. But let's have a conversation about it. And you go, I get it, and I bet if we got her to go and have a conversation with kids who were thinking this, she wouldn't say, get on puberty blockers, mutilate your bits. They'd say, look, take your time.
Yep. Yeah.
Right? It might be how you feel. Just figure it out. Give yourself some time and you'll know when it's right. Don't rush into it because it might be something that passes. Like, I've got a kid that thought he was fucking Iron Man. Like, I'm not getting him an exoskeleton and trying to put a fucking arc reactor in his chest. Right? Well, another kid thought he was fucking Spider-Man. I'm not making him saying, like, you can climb the gable end of the house. Right? This is what kids do. Like, it's fucking mental.
So immature in their heads, they just think.
Like, you lost your fucking mind.
Yeah. I had a client where I was talking about this, and the little kid was like, "Oh, I think I'm a girl," and she's like 4, and he's like, "Oh no, don't be silly." And just dismissed it until obviously when she gets older, and if she does fully develop into a woman that wants to become a man that wants to become a woman with the fucking fully developed brain, that's a different story. But yeah, kids come out with fucking all sorts.
Just let them be fucking kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Let them be kids.
You see, without all the
teach them right and wrong, no puberty blockers. Jesus fucking Christ, no puberty blockers.
See, without all the information we've received, though, like, it wouldn't even be in your head to consider that as a parent.
It's been shoved in. It's been programmed in.
Fucked.
Like, you go, where's that coming from? And you go, this is nuts.
So you think it's population control, though?
Well, I mean, the people that are behind, usually a lot of these things, they have a desire to control the population, and they've stated very clearly in their documents that are publicly available that you can go and review, that you can research if you want to go and find that out. As they say explicitly, smaller populations are easier to control, and they will say things like the Prince of Wales before he became king. You've got William in the royal family who have came out and says, you know, it's important that we control population for the future. And one of the best ways to control population is through vaccination. Yep. And it sounds very benign, and it's coming from someone who speaks in a royal tone and is very articulate, and it sounds just harmless. You say, okay, Jack, how the fuck do you do that one then? How is population control done via vaccination? Explain that to me.
Yeah.
Well, yes, we have scientists that can explain that. You came out with it. How the fuck do you do it? Because I read the Nazi documents about how they controlled population, and they were talking about the same thing as you were, and they were very, very explicit about how they controlled population. It was via sterilization through a mechanism, and that mechanism that you're describing is vaccination. So sterilization and vaccination to control population.
So what is it though? Is everyone that's had a vaccine, are they just going to drop off dead? Is that
No, I don't think that, because it would be
more natural selection where the weak will fucking potentially be affected.
I mean, it depends on, like, as I said, you want to argue both sides of it, because having looked at the history of vaccinations overall, the whole vaccination program, there was a lot of changes in society that explained the greater uptake of immunity and resistance. So, for instance, they had the polio vaccine, and they had the diphtheria, and they had a few other vaccinations that they said, look, well, this vaccination came into play, and it created this huge increase in life expectancy and lack of disease. But what people don't look at is when you take the bigger picture into account, and you say, well, we had greater sanitation, we had cleaner water, we instituted proper drainage, people weren't shitting in the back of a fucking outhouse, there was toilets installed, we were treating water so that they weren't getting cholera, and you go, well, is it actually these things that you're charging the government's tens of millions of pounds a year to put into people? And then you look at the rise of autism that was 1 in 10,000 and it's now 1 in 37, and the boom is from the point of vaccinations. And I'm not speaking as an anti-vaxxer. I've had vaccinations in the past. I'd vaccinated my kids. Like, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. That's what the fuck, you're a fucking anti-vaxxer. It's like, well, I'm not fucking not, because believe it or not, I've had the same shit and put into me that I probably, if I had my time again, I wouldn't do.
Just not the COVID ones though.
No.
What was it? The ones like fucking 10 years ago that you got done?
Was it
flu and all that?
Yeah, flu. Was it measles, mumps, and rubella?
Yeah.
MMR and the tetanus shot and various other sort of I don't know what I got when I was a kid, but there was these sorts of things
Yeah, I
that
remember.
they were given.
As well. So that's a question as well that I've asked before. So with those things, it's okay to take them. My wee sister was going into school and it was some kind of fucking jag she was getting, but part of my brain was like, no, COVID's bad, so that one's going to be bad as well. But what is the actual, like, how do you distinguish COVID's a fucking bad one to take, or you wouldn't take that, but you would take the other ones?
Well, like for instance, when you create a vaccine, there's a very stringent safety procedure. So they go through testing procedure in labs. They go through animal testing. They then move from animal testing to human experiments, and then they track those human experiments for a number of years to see if there's any delayed effects. So they would then surveil people to see what their response was over a long time period. And then what they would do is they would have multiple control groups where you would have somebody that had the vaccine, someone that had a placebo, and then they would usually do it double blind, so the doctors wouldn't know and the patients wouldn't know, and then you would come to some conclusions about how safe it was, and then you would measure the efficacy and the safety. That period takes 10 years. So to create a vaccine and do that surveillance, go through, lab, animal trials, human trials, and then give it long enough period of time that there's not a fucking ticking time bomb going off with this stuff that you've done. They're fine. Month 1, month 2, month 3, year 3, it sort of detonates in the system. So that takes a 10-year period. So what you need to look at is you look at the risk-reward ratio of these vaccinations. What's the likely fallout if I don't take it versus what's the likely side effects if I do take it versus the prevention. Yep. And the idea is like for instance, what's the trade-off? Because none of it's free. RFK Jr. does a great piece on Joe Rogan. First 54 minutes will blow your mind about vaccinations, and the relationship with vaccinations is that vaccinologists want to have a really strong immune response, because that strong immune response creates that immunity. Toxicologists have the dim view that the great way to get this response is by putting a poison into you that's going to poison you enough to get that immune response that's not toxic enough that it causes damage. And one of the things that was in some of the vaccines was mercury. So it was I can't remember if it was an ester or an analog of mercury that the immunologists were like, hey, look, this is a really good thing to do. So the vaccinologists were like, this is a great thing to do. But the toxicologists were like, this is fucking toxic as fuck. So what had happened is that they'd seen the mercury pass through the system, they'd done the blood test, nothing there. And then there was lots of side effects that were affecting a certain number of people that had been vaccinated, but they couldn't find what was causing it. So they'd done an experiment on chimps, back to animal testing, done the examination of the chimps. They were looking to find where this mercury was. So they euthanized the chimp, done surgery, opened up the brain, and found that the mercury had crossed the blood-brain barrier, and that was where the mercury lay, and it hadn't left the system, and this toxic compound was causing neurological damage, which is pointing to why there's such a significant rise in autism rates. So these are the things where RFK Jr. is pointing out this relationship between, well, we want something strong enough that's toxic enough that can get the immune response that makes it a really good vaccine, but we're doing the deal with the devil that we want to hope that it clears the system or it doesn't poison you enough. If you look at anyone that gets a vaccine, oh, you're going to feel terrible, you're going to get warm, flu-like symptoms, and it should pass. Take some, it's like, well, you're actually knowing that you're doing this, and this is the relationship where you say, hey, look, now it's not to say that they're all bad. I'm not saying that at all, but what we're saying is it's not a fucking free ride. And if you ask most people, they'd be like, oh, okay. And this is where the problem with COVID is that COVID arrived in March 2020, arguably December 2019. It was rushed through. It was a novel technology that had never been tested. It was using a technology that had never passed by animal trials. So there was experiment on ferrets that have a similar upper respiratory system to us, and they were tested, and the ferrets died when they were exposed to the wild virus. So they done fine in the lab, but when the ferrets were exposed to the wild virus again, their immune systems were destroyed. And one of the things that we're seeing from people that have taken the COVID vaccine is their immune systems are completely suppressed. That's why there's a rise of turbo cancers. There's issues around the mRNA that was supposed to be in the spike protein was supposed to stay in the ejection site. It's shown to be all throughout the body. There's problems with clots, there's problems with strokes, there's problems with myocarditis and precarditis, and these are showing up. And the doctors that are saying, hey, look, there's a problem, are being silenced. And one of the most peer-reviewed experts in this field has been character assassinated. So he, like Dr. Peter McCulloch, was on all the boards and has been shut to the side because they don't want to get him out, and he's very, very vocal. And interestingly, Dr. Robert Malone, who has 9 patents for the mRNA technology, so he helped design component parts of this tool that was used in the COVID vaccines. He was like, yeah, do you know, I've made it, got his vaccines, his Moderna vaccines, and had an adverse reaction, and he's completely like, we need to stop this. And you look at all the people that are saying this, and you go, well, look, these, like, why would they do it? Like, what's the benefit from them doing it? Like, they're going to go out there, they're going to be character assassinated, they're standing up for what's right, they don't like what they're saying, and they're in a position where they can go and say, hey, look, we are, like, we see what's happening here, and we don't, we think there's a big problem, we need to stop. And you look at the Twitter files where the team within Twitter were suppressing Harvard-trained medical doctors that were at the forefront who were saying there's an issue with this, and you've got someone in Twitter that says this doesn't fit our policy. I'll fucking rewind you back to Protocols of Zion. We will infiltrate the media, we will create regulation, we will create policy. You could fucking write it in. You could put the blank bit in, you could put a blank next to it, and you could write in each bit.
It's fucked. See, the people that have been vaccinated, is there anything like they can do to, like, health checks they could probably, like, keep on top of on like a 6 monthly basis to make sure that nothing does build without them knowing?
One of the things that I think is good about Scotland is that seeing the difference between having discussions with people in England, they seem to back when they've done it. Like, they're like, there's no compromise. They're just hook, line and sinker, even though they might suspect something's up.
Yep.
In Scotland, we seem to have people that are like, I'm willing to listen, this might have fucked it.
Yeah.
Like, this might be an issue. And I would say that's an advantage that we've got, because there's discussions where I've had with people that were so far the other way. And like my friend who's a doctor, he's like, I think there's something up. We have conversations, we're opening that discussion. The thing that we've got is we are actually like, what do you think it is? Right, I don't believe what you're telling me. I don't agree with what you're telling me. Tell me anyway, so that I can see your point of view. Yep. Maybe you see something that I don't. And we're having that interaction, and then you come to conclusion because we're sharing perspectives. And it's that thing that I think we've got the advantage of. But Dr. Peter McCulloch's designed a protocol to extract those toxins out your system. Okay. So Dr. Peter McCulloch, you can go on his website, and over the counter, there's a protocol that you can use to extract the toxicity and the spike protein that can cause cellular damage. It's on his website. So
from the vaccine? From
the vaccine, yeah.
Is that his website? Yeah, cool. I'll go on. Is it Radcliffe Cardiology?
No, I don't think so.
A fucking random one. Cool. I'll look at that after the podcast. Perfect. Obviously, for the viewers as well, Pizzagate, Wayfair, those kind of scandals, they will not have a fucking clue. I have a brief kind of knowledge on it, but can you go into them a little bit, Pizzagate?
Yeah, so like Janet Osberg done a great documentary series, and I'm going to warning, right? Do not look at this stuff if you are not ready for it. Mm-hmm. This is red pill on steroids plus 100% from the Matrix.
Yeah.
This is not something that you should watch, because it is an expose with video, evidence, documentation, the whole 9 yards, and it's not an easy watch.
Who was it that you said?
Janet Osberg.
Where can you watch that?
You could type in the Fall Cabal.
Fall Cabal.
The Fall Cabal. The Fall Cabal.
YouTube.
No, fuck no. You're not going to get that on YouTube.
It was just in Google.
No, you can search your Fall Cabal. You'll get it in places like Rumble, BitChute.
I saw, yes, Rumble.
But you're not, like, the people that control, they're not wanting you to see this.
There's some things you can see on YouTube though that are exposing a lot. Like there's definitely things that
I try to
don't
look up
censor
Zion and stuff, and nothing was really coming up though.
I think what the deep stuff you can't find on things like YouTube.
I mean, like things like you got to remember, like the things that they'll let you see things that are a distraction and not fucking going to change the course of things, but they're not going to let you get to the core.
Okay.
Yeah, so like, see some of the big kind of, the Super Bowl was just there. And I don't know, do you know who Ice Spice is at all? She's just a fucking artist that came out of like the hood in Brooklyn. And she's just this girl, but she's clearly sold her soul because she's wearing this upside down fucking cross, and then the camera goes on her and she's doing all the fucking hand signs and shit. She was literally once a little fucking hood girl that you could tell was just coming up through the music industry. Then the likes of Drake were starting to get in touch, flying her over in his private jet, all this fucking shit. And then she's doing this stuff. And the video, like, she seems so awkward doing it. It seems so forced. And she's like, she looks so fucking awkward. But do you feel like that is a little example of them selling their soul and now starting to comply with?
It's back to the whole, like, if I tacit acceptance, if I show you it and you don't know, then you can't say I never showed you it.
Yeah, for sure. So do you think she's probably been taken into a room and given a deal?
Well, what happens is, and I've spoke to people, I'm not going to mention their names because they want to keep discreet, but I've had conversations with people that have says, look, here's the deal. You're invited to come in and this is the offer and you will get all of this, but you need to do this. That's the deal.
And this is just pushing different agendas and ideas.
It's right. There's a small group of people that control nearly everything, and they know that you want what they control. They're not going to give you it for free, and they want to know that they control you, and how they control you is they have something over you, and if they don't have something over you, you're out with their control, so they're not going to give you what they have. So that's the deal. You can come in here, but you need to dirty your hands. If you're not prepared to dirty your hands, you're not getting the goods.
What is it to do with like controlled opposition where people are almost planted to look as though they're against the system, but they're actually not?
It's controlled opposition, that's normal. So a great way to silence or drown out other voices is that you create someone with a louder voice, put them on a bigger platform, and then you can control what they say. And again, back to, well, they'll let you see some stuff, but not the stuff that matters.
Yeah.
So it's a great tool. So
like Russell Brand, do you think he's controlled opposition? He's kind of against the system, but kind of not. Like he's like putting enough information out to pose as though he's against it, but not enough to. Do you know what I mean?
I think Russell's balancing that. He's got a very public image, and I think his income's generated primarily from that. So I think he's walking the tightrope of, I'm wanting to be out there, but I'm trying to still get paid.
Right.
You know, and it's like I said at the beginning. Maybe before we came on, the whole thing's a contradiction. So how do you fund, right? Like, if you watch the Putin Tucker Carlson interview, if you watch the Putin Tucker Carlson interview, Tucker says to him, like, why don't you just dish out all the information? Like, you know, Putin's like, it's a waste of time. He's like, the West control all the media. Mm-hmm. He's like, so the expenditure to get what we are putting out heard is it'll get silenced and blacked out. So it'll never see the light of day. He's like, so you can't spend what it would take because they would just, they will infinitely beat you because they control the printing press that prints all the money that the world uses, which is the US dollar. So they have the control with that dollar. And he's like, so it's a waste of, it's like to vote for, what do we get out of it? And he's like, so back to that point where you get someone and you say, look, you want to controlled opposition. Like, so Russell's situation is, well, I think that he believes he's doing the right thing, but he's also needing paid from the things that are fucking he's trying to dismantle. Yeah. Like, how do you do that? Like, how does he do that when he's in the same situation as, well, what does he do? Like, because the thing that you need is you need to spend money to get the message out. Russell's doing a good job at that. But he'll have a production team, content team, social media team. They're putting all this stuff out, setting up the memberships and so on. So it's got costs. People have got bills. So how does he pay for that? you know, you can't be Luciferian and like, it's all spiritual and light and we just need to be yada yada. Well, we fucking, sorry, Jack, but we've got the material bit which people need to buy and pay for and all that sort of stuff. So you're back at the other end.
Yeah.
See, the contradiction is you're stuck between the two. And Russell now, how can he get the word out? But he needs to go to the till to get paid. But to get to the till to get paid, he needs to tiptoe around what the rules are, and he's falling foul of the rules. And they're deciding what he can and can't put out. So he's back on the puppet string.
So even if there was like a presidential candidate that gained power, like have you seen that Vivek? What's his name? He's saying he wants to dismantle the CIA and like break it all down and rebuild it. That won't happen though.
Oh, look what happened to JFK when he said that.
Cool. So like so it's just this fucked up power dynamic where
JFK's problem wasn't that he wanted to dismantle the CIA. Like, he came out with the famous speech on secret societies, and what he said was, now that I'm in the top spot, I realise that it's not the top spot, and that there's a secret team that run this. There's a secret team that advise and essentially control the government through the president, and that secret team advises the president what to do, and who are giving the instructions to the secret team, right?
Yep.
And there's a great book called The Secret Team, and you look at what JFK said, and you look at what happened to him. It was Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, I know.
Like, no bother.
Sniper.
How many people have fucking bought that story? Like, no way, right? And what happened with JFK was his three things were going on with him, right? He was wanting to dismantle the CIA, right? He was wanting to expose Roswell because he was riding Marilyn Monroe on the side. So was his brother. She was getting around, and he was going to take her down. He took her down and shown her some of the classified stuff. Obviously, get her panties off. Fair play, right? Good on him. Manly shit.
Masculine.
Right? Masculine. Right? And Marilyn Monroe was going to call a press conference and blow the lid on it. Look at what happened to Marilyn Monroe. Look at what happened to JFK.
How did she die again?
Oh, she fucking went. I can't remember what happened to her, but it was like
She died anyway.
like heart attack or something. You need to look it up. Can't remember. But the thing that with Marilyn Monroe is that she was ready to call the press conference and expose it. Boom, gone. JFK's problem, not the Marilyn Monroe bit and not the CIA bit, is that he was going to introduce greenbacks, which was a money that the government printed that was out with the control of the central bank, and that they were going to create their own currency. That was him signed his death warrant. Because remember what I said to you about the United 200. He who controls the money supply controls the country. He who controls the food supply controls the people. Right? It's in their fucking documents. Like, it's not like it's not my theory or hypothesis. It's what they say. But if you're too dumb to figure it out, then we told you. Like, we told you.
This is fucking crazy.
And this is the thing is like, you know, I've had conversations with the foremost economist in the world who's exposed how the monetary system works. And they'll say, look, can you have a conversation with them? Why do you want like some guy in Scotland to have a conversation with like a super highly academic economist? He's like, well, because you get it. You figured it out. Yep. I'm like, well, it's only, what does it take to figure it out? Because I'm nothing special. Well, tenacity, determination, looking at it, open-mindedness, asking different points of view.
Acceptance.
Yeah, taking it, like, and that's hard. That acceptance bit's hard. I explained this to you when we were on the phone the other night. Acceptance is like this, right? You go through the stages of this, right? You believe the world's a certain way. You have belief that it's that way. Then you get information that suggests that it's not the way you think. It challenges your belief. You instantly go to deny it. And then you see enough information that you now need to question it because it's more, the information is overwhelming relative to your belief. And then you need to consider that what you believed was wrong. Yeah. And then that's a big step. Most people can't get there. And then what happens is you need to be open and look at that subjectively to come to that conclusion. And then when you do, you go, fuck. And there was times I explain it's like a cup. The cup fills up, it gets to a point it spills over, and you need to let that level go down a bit so you can go back in. Most people will get that spillover and never go back because it's hard. It's like a cheese grater on the brain, and you just go.
Is it worth it? Almost.
I would ask, it's like Neo in the Matrix. He's coming out an embryotic chamber, just realised he's a battery. He's been picked up by a Nebuchadnezzar, metallic arms clamped around him. He's never used his muscles. He's never used his eyes. And he's full of, portholes to extract his energy. Like, you ask him there and then, is it worth it? He'd be like, fuck, no, plug me back in.
Yeah.
And this is what people face. It's like, do you really want to know? Like, do you want, listen, Dorothy, do you want to click your heels 3 times and come back to life as you wished, or are you ready to go down the rabbit hole? So and this is what I mean, going back to the wheel analogy, right? Most people are like, fucking, I'm familiar with Outer Edge. Am I really that ready to go down to the hub? Am I ready to go all the way down the spoke to the bottom? Whether it be breath work, psychedelics, yoga, ice baths, pushing yourself to the limit, doing the studying, reading up the ancient text, developing your spirit to the point where you understand that there's more to this than just a physical meat suit. Are you prepared to put all the distractions aside? Are you prepared to not be balls deep on your phone and Instagram? Are you prepared to not be lured in with wearing the Balenciaga trainers? Like, are you prepared to go that far? Most people aren't.
Would you say there's a quality of life that you can achieve through doing that, though? Through becoming more aware and trying to understand what the fuck's really going on. You don't need to know the complete, right down to the bottom of to the center of the fucking wheel, but if you at least know somewhat the fucking system that we're in and controlled by, do you not think we can achieve a slightly better quality of life?
What can you gain from it?
Just understanding of how money works, how to be efficient, what is actually limiting like our abilities to do certain things, and if we don't comply with it, we can then work around it and see the loopholes and start to actually gain more than they want us to.
That's subjective to you.
Cool. So it's just it's if you want to take your head out of the sand, it's your choice. But you don't think logically, if some people that do have their head in the sand did take their head out of the sand,
people don't think in logic.
Yeah, it's all emotion, isn't it?
Well, you're not asking them to logically look at a situation because their belief system and what they believe life's about. You're asking them to disengage their emotions and then just look at it through logic. You're not going to get that. You're going to stir up emotions, shock, anger, despair, disbelief. You're not saying, hey, just logically look at it. You're not going to get there.
Okay. People
aren't going to get there. And what's the prize for them? You find out the money system isn't what you think. You think banks don't lend you money when you thought you did. You think that your government had your best interest in heart, and it proves that they don't. You believe that they're answering to unelected officials, which they are. What are they going to do with that? Is that going to change their situation with their mortgage and their credit card bills and their car payment and their kids growing up? And like, what's it going to do for them?
More maybe so open their mind up to starting a business is obviously more achievable than they think. Things like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, maybe things that they could open their mind
to do
up.
What? They're going to plug right back into the thing that you've just exposed.
But maybe in a better way.
What would be better about it?
Making more money, having more maybe freedom in what they're doing.
I don't know how they get there.
What, they don't know?
No, I don't know how they get there. They have the information. Right? They have the information and become aware. What do they do with it?
Is that just when there's people like yourself maybe that would create courses and different things to come on and educate themselves on?
Well, the thing with my courses is like, hey, look, if you want to do this, here's how to do it. Right, so you could make them a better version of what they want to achieve.
That's what I'm trying to say,
right?
yeah.
So you can do that. But exposing what we are talking about is not going to do that, because we're essentially talking about the system that they will be ingrained. They are intertwined with it. Mm-hmm. Our lives are entwined within that system. So it's like showing them the truth about the system doesn't take them out of it, doesn't disengage them from that. It doesn't take away the facts that your life, right? You take money from your clients, you spend money, you put fuel in the car, you buy it. You have a car, you maybe have a car payment, you maybe have a rent or a house or a mortgage. You want things, you want to go on holiday, you buy it. Like, right, you become newly aware of it. There's no change. You're still charging customers. You're ingrained.
Yeah.
It's like, so to what end? You've got to ask yourself, why? What's the benefit of this? The only thing that you could come to is that what we're seeing here is there is a frog march to an agenda that we will not like if we get there. And we must interrupt that. So we must become aware of the power that we have collectively. Because even one person becoming aware, Russell Brand or Professor Richard Werner or a whole host of other people that are aware, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, to name but a few, to what end? You need the masses to stand united and say, hey, look, collectively, we will not let this happen. And if you look at the farmers, they're doing a pretty good job at that.
In France and Germany and that.
Well, even here in the UK, and it's media blackout. But you look at Ireland, UK, where they're taking a stand. How many of us have went out to the farmers? And you go, well, there's the guys that became aware how they're being affected by the agenda that's there. How many people are protesting with the farmers? How many people are standing united by them? And then you go and look at Canada with the truckers. The truckers done the same thing. What did Justin Trudeau, who's a WEF puppet, what did he do? He froze the bank accounts of the truckers. And then he, even though it was against law, it was been proven that it was unlawful and he broke the law doing it, but it still happened. And those truckers were, and it was pointed out that if anyone sends money to these truckers, they will be treated as funding terrorism. So they couldn't spend the money that they were sent, and they put a threat to the people that were going to send them it. What do you think that does to most people? Oh, yeah. Right. Look at, on the topic of Canada are saying, like, if you want to be a podcaster, it needs to meet their criteria, meaning that they want to control what you're allowed to say to Canadian people. That is a fucking authoritarian dictatorship. Mm-hmm. And that dictatorship came from Klaus Schwab, which is the head of the World Economic Forum. And I'll remind you that Canada is part of the United Kingdom Commonwealth. And I'll remind you that the constitutional monarchy, which the UK operates under, the monarch has been very, very good at parroting the WEF's agenda. So you've got a country that's within a territory, which within the constitutional monarchy, which is within our system, and you look at us, we go, what are we going to do with people? Well, you're going to need to set a fire under their ass that's going to make them stop worrying about if they're trans or bi or a tree or a cat or a dog, white, black, Chinese, whatever the fuck, divide in the sand. You say, look, I think we've got a common problem and we need to come together. You think about what that needs to look like, because that's the only way you affect change.
Yeah, so people becoming aware of this could actually potentially be more detrimental to them than beneficial if they don't actually act on. Obviously, you're saying as a collective, but I just mean, see what I understand now of the system. I definitely don't conform to, say, the media that I hear. Even as simple as that, like knowing that what they're trying to fucking purport to us is bullshit or just negativity. I mean, even the little simplistic things like that, if you hear this podcast and you're more aware of these little things, your mood can then probably be more controlled by yourself.
If COVID happened again, you wouldn't be sitting fucking a gap away from your fucking granny. You wouldn't be following those kind of bullshit things if you're a little bit more aware of the system. That's like the individual effects. But what you're saying, Geo, like the reason why none of this fucking matters unless everyone knows and everyone acts accordingly as a common thing. That's what it is, isn't it?
No, what I mean is that if it's a case of just making people become aware, does that solve it? The answer's no.
No, not unless they act accordingly with that awareness.
The process of it is that enough people need to become aware and enough people need to become bothered. And once enough people become aware and become bothered, then they need to think, what do we do?
Come together.
And then they need to come together. So it's not a case of just becoming aware, because that was the question. The question was, if we raise awareness, then that, do people become better and do they improve? And there's things, and what I've said is that, they can improve, but you've got situations that there is tools that control. The people that control this control the central banks, so they can raise the interest rates so nobody can afford their debt payments. Yep. You've got energy crisis where they're creating false energy crises to raise energy prices. British Gas the other day's profits jumped from 70 million a year to 721 million in a year through an energy crisis. Right, their profits went up 10x. right, through an energy crisis. So there was no fucking crisis because they charged 10 times more to get that revenue, right?
Yeah.
And you look at people that have been pumped. They've been pumped, and this is what I mean. If like we could get the whole of Scotland to rise up, right, and come together, and they say, well, we're cutting off the food supply or the electricity or fucking hostage negotiation 101. I'm going to shut the power. We're not going to feed you, and we're just going to fucking we're going to let you get that miserable until you're weak and you break and you give in. Well, you could do that on a country level. He who controls the food controls the people.
Yeah.
And this is why there's an attack on the farmers. Right? They want a total technological surveillance state. So you putting a smart meter in is not benign. You complying with ULEZ is not benign. You complying with digital ID is not benign. You complying with vaccine passport is not benign. It's all part of the technology that they want to have you, where they can control your spending using central bank digital currency, that they can monitor what you've bought, they can monitor where you've went, but based on your registration or the electric vehicle or other tracking means. They can then track what carbon you've used and charge a carbon tax, and they can deduct it straight out of your account because there's no due process. It's a bank that you have with the account that you have with the central bank. And you would need to create such a crash that is so bad and so heinous that people would be willing to accept your new account. And this is what we're facing. This is what they're looking to do.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was a good point. So, what I meant was more on an individual basis, and I definitely asked the wrong question because, like, you responded on more of, like, as a collective, how the fucking things that control us can change. But I just meant more the average fucking guy. If he knows more about this, he can be more aware of the news not fucking his head as much.
Yeah, I mean, like, see, on an individual level, what I would say to people is that, right, be aware that things out there are not doing it. There may be things that are influencing you that you don't know that are influencing you, and that they don't have a good outcome if you continue to let them influence you. So that's the first thing to become aware of. The second thing is that don't fall into the trap of it's all about material and it's all this. So start to develop your body, your mind, your soul, your spirit, your consciousness. Develop that, because if you take time and disconnect from this humming constant drive to capture your attention, and you take 10 or 15 minutes to just quieten your mind down, you'll become aware that there's more to you than just go to work, come in, do the everyday stuff. And then what you want to do is then develop your goals. Like, what do you want? And then make connections with people, build a network with people who are like-minded like you. So then you develop a way that you can then connect with others who start to feel the same things that you feel. And then you can start to develop that cohesive kind of connection with others.
Yep. And
you don't need money to do that. You don't need huge amounts of time to do that. You can do a simple practice. You can listen to your podcast, audible books. There's videos on how to do this. I've got a mindset coaching community that goes through the template on how to do this, and a lot of the stuff in there is free. You don't need cash to do it. I mean, the top tier is £20 a month. It's nothing. People spend that in Starbucks and 2 fucking Frappuccino, whatever,
macchiato.
The big fucking, give me the 30 million grams of sugar and stick some cream on the top. Let me blow my brains out. Blow my brains out before I do my bollocks in this card. And it's like, and it's about getting out there. Look, there is more in you. There is more in there if you just took time to listen to it.
Yep.
And this is where it starts. It's the Michael Jackson man in the mirror. Start with you. And it's not to say that we need to burn the system down and that fucking, like, I get it. I get that it's got problems, right? But look, society's sort of doing quite well with, there's a lot, you wouldn't destroy the whole thing.
No.
There's certain things you would change. Like, I think the blanket sort of migration of military age males that are coming into the country that are being put up in hotels with, blanket immunity and being paid, I think that's a problem.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, because just before we move on to that,
fucking hell,
no,
Kyle.
but what you've just said to the individual people listen to this, that's fucking golden. See if you just do what Gio just said there, like really focus on yourself. It all starts within you, and the advice he's just given. If you take what he's just given, go and fucking write that on a bit of paper, apply it to yourself, your fucking full reality in life is going to change. Especially if you repetition. If that happens all the time in your life, you've always got that kind of focus. You've got a fucking mental life ahead of you if you do what Gio's just said. That's really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have had. I mean, I don't know if I'd have listened to it when I was 19, 20. Like, I don't know if it'd have went in. And that's the hard thing, is we're guilty of fucking no bother.
Yeah.
And you know, give you a story. The yoga instructor that came up to me, I was, you know, fucking pumped up, jacked, solid, huge bulging triceps. I was in doing training with my mate, two big buff guys in the gym. Yoga teacher came up and she's like, you know, old yogi. She's like, yeah, hi boys, how are you? Has he's ever thought about doing yoga? Man, no bother, sweetheart. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like, listen, man, I'm fucking doing tricep push downs that most people couldn't do leg press with. Like, I'll just get back to being fucking masculine and butch. And I was polite to her. I said, like, you know, I've never thought about
Listen,
it.
fuck off.
Not really my scene. But inwardly, you know, I'm just fucking pure masculinity. I'm like, no bother, sweetheart. I don't need stretch. Fucking yoga. All that shite. And then she's like, I was polite to her and she's like, you know, no, great, never thought about it. Not really my scene, but yeah, it was really nice for you to come up and thank me.
Think of it.
And about 8 years later, I started cycling, and I couldn't get into the aerodynamic position. I was like, man, so fucking tight. And I ended up doing a 15-minute yoga class that was part of the cycling training program. And I was like, man, I am fucking like as tight as a knot. And went back to, like, I'll see if the gym does a yoga class. It was exactly the same yoga teacher. And there's me 8 years later going, fuck, if I'd done this 8 years ago, where would I have been? And it's just like that thing. I don't know if I'd have listened to someone going, concentrate on your soul and your consciousness and take some time out, you know, because I would have been, if you asked me then, you know, it's all about fucking results and performance and, you know, new highs, and you're just constantly, you know, the more materialistic driven.
Yeah.
It just so happens that now I've went, there's more to it. I'm glad that I found that, but I would say to anybody that's out there, look, you don't need to listen to me now. You don't need to try it right now. Just keep it in mind. Like, if it's not for you now, there'll be a time where you're going to quit. You're going to go, I don't feel right. If you don't feel right, just follow those things.
Yeah.
Follow those steps, right? And I think you'll like where you go.
The comment you said you got a review from one of the people in your community. I got help I never knew I needed. Was it that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's
So I've just found the help that I never knew I needed.
Yeah, I get
And he's tried all the courses that are going, like all the who's who, and you know, he's telling me, he's like, you should be charging thousands of pounds for this. I'm like, right, look, you know, it's lovely to hear that, but it's not. I'm not driven by doing this. I want people. I would rather have 10,000 people having access to this than 100 people paying me 10 grand.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, right, look, it does have a cost. I'd like to cover that cost. There's some people that help me with it that they need a wage. So if we can work this out, that they can get what they need, and, you know, it washes its face, that's good enough for me, because the bigger thing that we need is we need to raise that global energy.
Yep.
Like, one of my big goals is to raise the global energy around the world by reminding people what they are and lifting them out that lower vibration and just increasing it so that they can start to become aware of what they are. Now, I'm not saying that that's to go to the centre of the hub, but maybe just make a couple of steps in that direction. I think that people, they'll be more open, they'll be able to have conversations. Depression will drop completely because they'll feel a sense of fulfillment, they'll feel a sense of purpose, they'll feel that they can do good, they'll feel that they have a place, they'll have better relationships, people seek them out for help, and they'll just feel gratified in their life. And they might not have a Lamborghini, they might not have a Porsche, right? They might not stay in a mansion, right? But they don't need to feel gratified. You don't need that, right? You go and help somebody. You go and help somebody, you've changed their life. There is not a number on a bank account that'll match that feeling. Right? You do that and you go, somebody goes, you know what, you changed my life. Right? You can't write a check for that.
No.
Right? Because you get to keep that your whole life. Money comes and goes. So these are the things where doing those things along with doing things that can help your financial situation, I think are great.
Yep.
But just like you've explained in the mindset community, not everybody's desires and fulfillment are found in the financial part. You know, some people just need to get by. Maybe they want to take their kid to, you know, on holiday. Maybe their kid's sick and they want to see them get better. Maybe maybe they've not got on with their wife and they want to get a good relationship. Maybe they want just enough money to, change that kitchen in their house. Like it's different for everyone. And that's what I mean is like the world's made up of lots of different people, but there's one thing that we universally seek, and that's fulfillment, that gratification that we feel when we help others, that that sense that we're improving, that we're getting better, that we're having a better experience. And that's different for everyone, but getting those things in life are what really, really counts.
Yeah, amazing.
That aligns with what the fuck we're all like, what we're pushing with clients. Our purpose, man. It's fucking so good, man. So good.
Yeah, that's amazing. You can't really add too much to that, so I'm just going to change the fucking subject.
That is like, see the purpose of this podcast that we do, though. Obviously, today's chat's been about the system and stuff, but everything you've just put into words there, that is what we've been pushing through the podcast. I've wrote down my purpose, definite purpose and stuff. It's all about that. It's all about that kind of stuff. And as you said, the gratitude that you receive from other people, you can't match that by telling yourself you're grateful fucking 1,000 times. Like, receiving gratitude, genuine gratitude by changing someone's life permanently, as you said, you can't match that feeling with fucking £1 million. It just doesn't exist.
Like for instance, I'll give you an example. Part of the mindset coaching community is one of the things that one of the things that really catch people out is we do an audit. It's like, so explain, like, you're going into an adventure park, you're going to Legoland and it's so massive, and you look at it and you go, I've not a fucking clue where I am. So you go to the map and you stand in front of the map and you're looking at it and you look at all the stuff and it's got a red dot going, you are here. Right, so you go, right, I now know where I'm at, and you want to figure out where you want to go. Well, life's like that. And you do an audit, and one of the processes of the audit is like, what's 20 things that you would consider a success? What are you grateful for having happened in your life? Most people struggle with it because they don't look back at the things that they've done. And then you look at the next question is what's the 20 things that you would consider flaws or failures? You're taking stock of where you're at in your life. And what you're looking to do is get an audit of, right, where am I at? Because what you're doing is you're now starting to look inside. You're doing a recount of, right, how did I get here? How's my river flowing? Did I build the river or did I just accept it? Can I change its direction or flow of my life? All right, well, I need to recap all these things. And it's when you start to do that with yourself, then you can see how other people are stuck because you've went through all that work with you to then go, oh, I know what that is, and I know what that is, and that's escape, and that's sort of wiring that was given to you because you've went through the work, you've went through the process. And it's these things where you say to someone, like in the planner, so we take all the answers to the questionnaires and we pull them through and can stick them on a planner. And it's right, here's the first thing you're doing. One of the things is what you're grateful for. Every day, what's the 3 things that you're grateful for? People, like, I get stuck with that all the time. Like, and that is how little gratitude that they experience daily. Their gratitude tank is so low. It's empty to the point where they can't write 3 things that they're grateful for.
Yeah, people are constantly on reception, taking things around them, but never reflect. They never self-reflect or actually ask themselves that question. That's probably one of the main things that, if you want to become more aware and become the creator, like you're speaking about, reflection is probably where to start, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I'll give you an example. Like, we do like the daily review. So you review like how did your day go, and the top 3 things is like what did you achieve. So that's usually your tasks. Did you do this? Did you pull in this amount of money? Whatever your particular thing is. Made that call. I done that deal. I got that one over the line. Whatever, right? And then what was your top 3 moments of the day? Now I've got myself, and I've got a friend of mine who I helped through his depression. And I mean, like, we're not talking about attention seeking. I've got fucking depression and anxiety. I mean, like, suicide. I now think it's better that I am not here than being here because it's so fucking dark. Right? And he came to me and he's like, you're the only person that I trust that will tell me the truth. And I said something to him that was so fucking harsh that people, if they'd heard it, would be like, you think that's how you snap people out of depression? But I knew his buttons, and it hit him so hard that it shook him out of his pattern of thinking. Right? And he says, like, how do I start this? His path in ascension through following this process has been nothing short of a miracle. If you've seen it, you'd be like, it is miracle level stuff. 2 months later, his comments about following this planner, he says, he looked back at when he first started writing out, he said, do you actually feel sorry for the guy that wrote this? He says, because I knew how he felt. He says, and I can only feel that because of where I'm at now. And we were talking about, we'd be like, how do you fill yours in? And those best 3 moments of the day are things like, I read a book with my 8-year-old kid, or, I went out, went training with my 11-year-old boy who's really hardcore and into his training, and I showed him how to do bicep curls properly, or, I took the dogs down the canal path and fucking he came back bogging. So, it's these things, they're not what you achieve, and what you feel, what your heart sings towards are not the same. But if you're concentrated on one and not the other, you have this lopsided life and you're out of balance, and you wonder, like, why do I not feel good? And it takes so, like, within 3 questions I'll figure out where somebody's at, and you just gotta, like, I know exactly where the hole is in your life. And it's these sorts of things where you start to balance that wheel, like I did with my friend, and he's like, I'm unrecognizable, to the point where his wife is like, I don't know what you're taking, but I don't know why you're so happy, because it's like a significant change.
Yeah.
And nothing's changed. All we've done is remind them what's inside of them. They've shook off the dust and says, look, this is what's in you. Like, and you stick to this and do it every day until this is part of you. When it's part of you, you never go back.
Yeah, so retrained his unconscious mind.
Kind of goes back to the balance of the Luciferian and the Satanic, though. Even like what you said about the 3 good things that happened today. You could think on the materialistic things that maybe you've made this money or that money, or you can think about what makes your heart sing, as you said, going a walk with a dog, or fucking going, like, singing a song with your daughter. Do you know what I mean? So even in what you achieve on a daily basis needs to be balanced from with materialism and the kind of more spiritual side of things, isn't it?
No, it's like we said earlier on. If you forget everything that's been discussed in this podcast, the thing that you need to remember is that your goal is to find harmony.
Yep.
Harmony's balance. If you find balance in this world that's fucking chaos, right, you're going to do really well, right? You're the man in the mirror. If you do that, people will ask you how you do it. If you help them, they'll find balance.
Yep.
And this thing will start to filter into itself. And you will, like a stone hitting a river or water, it will ripple out. Right? Because people will look to you. I've done a video on my mindset community. It was like, here's what happens. People have said this, oh, you're that fucking self-improvement guy. You're just like, oh, you think this way. It's all shite. It's bollocks. It's you shouldn't do it. Right. And when I was starting out, and I'm like, here's what I'm going to do. Here's my goals. Here's my plans. Here's what I'm prepared to do. What it takes. This is where I want to go. This is who I want to be, and this is why I want to be it. And they were like, you've lost your fucking mind. And then over the period of time, something happens in their life, and they go, how do you do it? Your haters become the ones that come to you for advice. And it's full circle, because you cannot argue with the results. You cannot. Success leaves clues. And it's finding that balance where it will resonate out. And that's what happens, is it just spills out, and people detect it. People pick up on it.
Yep.
It's like when you ever told you a story of the Martian and comes down in a UFO. No?
No.
Right, so here's an like you speak to someone and you say to them, look, we're energetical beings and we can pick up an energy, so be very aware of what energy you put out. They'll be, that's fucking woo-woo pish. What are you on about? Fucking, where you fucking hippie nutter, right? You say, okay, right, let's make it practical then. An alien arrives here in a UFO. It's a Martian. grey looking thing, big eyes, small, 3 foot tall. Arrives here, it's like, been looking for you. You're like, me? What have you been looking for me for? Says, we've been looking for somebody to show us round. And you seem like you're the guy. So can you take me around, show me around Earth? All right then, one then. So you go down to your friend's house. You go in, you can't wait to show him this fucking alien. Right? You go in, you open the door, right, and him and his missus are in there and they've had a fight. Right? And you're like, right, we're going to come back later on. Nobody said a word, nobody said anything, but you know, you can detect it. You can pick up that energy.
Yep. Martian
says to you, what was all that about? Says, well, I think they've had an argument. We'll come back later on once that's cooled down. Martian says, how do you know? Says, you can just tell. He's like, how do you tell?
Right, yeah.
He's like, trust me, you can tell. So much for being a hippie. You just explained to the Martian that you can pick up an energy, and you picked up on what they emitted out. You can detect the energy in the atmosphere. Not so happy after all. So you think of your thoughts, what you say to yourself every day. You think of Dr. Nomoto's tests that he done on ice, where he taking water and he played music to the water from Hertz music, opera, all the way through to rock music, and he froze the water to see the crystal that would form from the ice, and he took pictures of all the different frequencies when you played it to them, and that frequency was stored in the water, and it showed these horrible, unbalanced, mashed up crystals from the heavy metal all the way through to these beautiful, elegant crystals from the Hertz music and everything in between. You think of what your thoughts are saying, that internal dialogue, what you say to them, who you hang around with, the media. You get in the picture?
Yeah, 100%.
Right? Well, that's getting stored within you, just the same way as you can detect what happened in that room, just the same way you can explain to Martian without saying a fucking word to anybody that an argument's happened. Yeah. Be very, very careful with what you put into your mind. And also be aware, like what we've discussed today, be aware of what's coming in. You might think it's benign, but just be aware. And how to stop that and become aware is take some time to disconnect, quieten your mind, and work on yourself. Not just in the physical, but your spiritual. And an example I done with my oldest boy, because he was feeling a bit lost. I said to him, I says, let me show you something. Just, for instance, where do you think your consciousness lives? In your body. He's like, here. So where do you think your soul lives? Here. How do you know? I don't know. Like, but are you conscious? He's like, yeah. I says, have you got a soul? I think so. There you go. You just know, but you've dulled it out because of Instagram, and I know you might watch a short here on Instagram. We're not beating up on Instagram. It's a lovely thing. But take some time to remember that your soul's in there and your consciousness is in there, and you have the power to detect if an argument's took place. So don't go rushing off just thinking you're a fucking meat suit, because there's a lot more to you. And if you get stuck, then there's loads and loads of places you can do it, whether you listen to this podcast, whether you come to the mindset community, whether you watch videos, whether you follow you guys in your previous episodes, where you see what you discuss, your whole ethos, what you're trying to promote. But it's out there, and there's lots of it, and it's been around for millennia, and it works. So take fucking 10 minutes out your day and do it. It's only 10 minutes. You've got 168 hours in the week, right? Taking 70 minutes out of 168 hours isn't the end of the world. I'm sure you can find time. See if you don't think you've got enough time, go and get your phone, go to settings, look at screen time, and tell me that you've not got time.
Literally. It's so fucked up. See the dopamine system that is clearly fried in most people? I think it just comes from the over-consumerism and the over-consumption of pleasure, and that's why they feel like they don't have time, because they've got such short fucking attention span and such shallow like kind of thought process, because everything is just quite surface level, face value shit now.
Yeah, I mean, it's by design. I mean, you look at there's a famous experiment where they done it on rats. They were testing the dopamine system. So they would put a lever in a rat cage, and every time the rat hit the lever, it would dispense, a treat. Mm-hmm. And then what they realised is that if you gave the rat a treat on every alternate hit of the lever, the rat would hit that lever over 800 times a minute because it wasn't getting the fix every time. And that was the dopamine, that's the power of the dopamine system. So you look at the people that are like, you know, no wonder if you can feel anxious. When was the last time you were out in the sun? When was the last time you were out in nature? When was the last time you walked around a body of water, whether it be a river or a canal or the beach? When was the last time you were in nature and you didn't look at your phone? How many times you cooped up, stuck in there? When was the last time you climbed a hill? When was the last time you went to a loch? When was the last time you went out and physically exercised? When was the last time that you really pushed your body to the limit? Right, and you sit there, you're filling yourself with junk food, you're putting shite in your system, you're constantly looking for a dopamine hit, fucking reel after reel, short after short, sitting there fucking mind numb. You don't know what's coming out of that box is nothing but fucking complete propaganda telling you that you're shite, everything's doomed, energy prices are going up, UK's in recession, go to work. Like, you wonder why you're fucking depressed. You wonder why you feel shit. No wonder. Like, when was the last time you properly breathed? Like, took a proper breath?
Breath, yeah.
Like, when was the last time you filled the inside of your body with a breath? People would be fucking amazed by that.
It's insane. The problem is they don't ask themselves those questions, so they don't reflect. That is literally the biggest fucking problem.
They can fucking tell you the things that they're not doing. They can tell you that. They've got a list of why me, it's this, it's that, it's the next thing. So
the victim mentality.
I feel like we could sit for the next fucking 2 hours and go over the rest of what's on my list, but I think that's a class time to end the first podcast.
It's a class introduction.
Part two, we discuss blood rituals, lizards, war and drugs, psychedelics, DMT, Amazonians, fucking gematria,
so much more to talk
Freemasons, fucking all that shit.
That's not even us talking about like consciousness and digging into like how you can develop yourself. And that. There's so many.
Even your life, and how the fuck you got to where you are. It's like
so many.
Like you as a person, we need another 2 hours for that. Do you know what I mean? So
we need to like onboard you as a co-host and start fucking.
We need to do like a new series with the deep dive into who you are.
Yeah, red pill conversation.
Well, we're for it, man. 100%. 10-part series coming soon.
But we appreciate your fucking time, bro. 100%. Because you're a very intentional person. We are as well. But you more so because of the experience you've got. So you wouldn't be here if there wasn't some kind of intention. So we appreciate you giving you. And a perspective I've been open up to recently is whatever you're doing in the moment, you're prioritizing doing that thing over anything else in the full fucking world. Like whatever you're doing. So, and we are fucking so aware of that, and we're aware that you've given us your time today. So yeah, deeply grateful for that.
That's great, and it's back to what we discussed earlier on. Like when you set an intent and you've clearly got something you do, you tend to get the right people, like things. I always say that you want to do the what, and you know the why, and you're prepared to do whatever it takes. The how seems to figure out itself. Opportunities present itself. Yep. So it comes as no surprise that you're asking the right questions and we're sitting here today. Because your listeners out there are looking for the answers and you're seeking out those answers. And I'm just on that same curve, maybe, you know, with that bit of knowledge that you're like, hey, look, you seem to be on the same sort of bit as us. Do you think there's anything that we can share? So it's been a pleasure to come on and discuss these things, and I think it signposts that there's people like us out there that are seeking the answers, that want more from life, they want a better experience, they're maybe concerned about the things that are out there, and they maybe feel stuck but are looking to seek those answers, and they'll be prepared to listen to things like this where we can show them our notes, say, look, this is what we found out. So it's been a pleasure to come on and spend some time with you and unearth what's up, and hopefully point people in the right direction of where they can start.
Yeah, which is if you want to plug your community, right. So I'll be joining it after this.
So I've got a podcast called Conversations with an Investor. So it started off as a sort of chat about what I got up to, and it's sort of morphed into the mindset piece, because most people generally, when they come to me for advice, 99% of the time it's not their knowledge it's lacking, it's their mindset's in the wrong place. I've developed the mindset coaching community, which is a way to raise that global energy around the world. So if you want to check out the link in my bio, it's on the school platform. It's called Mount Mindset. I tell the story about your mindset's a bit like ascending a mountain, and there's lots of trails up the mountain, but there's lots of inner bitch sort of things that are trying to get you back down to the base. So it's a bit like the game Snakes and Ladders, where there's the snakes trying to get you down to the bottom hill and you want to try and find it and ascend to the top. When you get to the top of that mountain, every single thing that you want in life, you can see in a 360-degree view. And that means that you can narrow in and focus on where you want to go and then plot your path to there. But before you get there, you need to go to the top of Mount Mindset so that you're armed, ready, you've got your head developed, you've went through the resistance, and you've built the endurance that you're prepared to do what it takes. And that takes working on you. And I guess that's where, in conclusion, that's probably what we've done today. Yep. We found that path where we take all this dark and negative stuff, we get it out, and we've morphed it into something where we can say, hey, look, here's how we can make light out of this. Here's how we can find the positive in this. Here's how we can develop it and share it with others so that they can do it too if they like what we've discussed.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, perfect.
It's actually, just to make a point though, it's not often that we speak to someone that can articulate in the way that, I'm not saying the way that we do, but the way you say it is literally the way we...
You're kind of like the fucking person we've been looking to speak to, bro. It's kind of mad.
It's sick, man. It is so sick, man. It's
crazy.
fucking...
It's exactly what we want to inform ourselves on. Like, everything you fucking know. So it's like...
The way you say it, the way you articulate yourself is fucking... Honestly, I'm not dick riding here, bro. That's fucking class, man.
You're just like an older, more built... Slightly less hair in your head,
stronger hands and shit.
I used to have hair like you. It was fucking. It
Don't
disappeared.
Scare me, bro. Don't scare me.
I would keep it.
What age have I got? What age?
I was probably 32, 34.
By that point, I won't care.
I knew when I shaved it, I thought I fucking looked deadly with a shaved head. So it was like, it wasn't too bad. Like if I'd shaved it, I was like, you know, I need to do something with this because I've got a horrible shaped head. But I was fortunate enough that I looked.
You're looking fucking killer. You look a fucking murderer, man.
That sort of thuggish kind of look.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything bad to you. But yeah, perfect. Part 2 probably coming in whenever Geo is free to sit down for another couple hours. But yeah, on to the next one. Next episode.
Yeah, thanks for your attention and
David Stephen.
Your time and attention. Yeah, we've got big fucking.
A multi-millionaire on for the next podcast.
Did you call him a property investor? I don't know. He's got a home improvements company doing fucking millions a year. He's got a lot of other different ventures, and again, just more wisdom to soak in from someone that's successful and has the wisdom that we want to share with you.
Just another banger podcast. So yeah, stay tuned. See you soon.